All right, we're now recording. So everybody should be able to see my screen. Again, there's a chat feature. It should be to the bottom right. Type a 1 if you can see my screen. Again, this is Martin Ricard. I'm the communication specialist for AFSCME Council 57. Type a 1 in the chat if you can see my screen. I am sharing my screen, but I just want to make sure everything's working all right. Perfect. Okay. Awesome. And then also if you haven't muted your GoToMeeting, just make sure to put your computer on mute. I just want to make sure everybody can hear me. And again, this is being recorded, so just want to make sure everybody understands that. All right, so here we go. All right, so today's communications training is about Eblast. I call Eblast one of the most underutilized but often the most abused communications tool. And as we go through this, you'll understand why I say that. Before we get started, just want to let everybody know, I do encourage folks to use social media. We're in the age where a lot more folks are using social media, and as a union, I want us to get more involved. So feel free to tweet during and after this webinar, and you can use this hashtag. It's hashtag our union, our future. Also, there will be a Q&A section at the end. Again, I'm trying to keep this to 30 minutes or less, and so I'll have some time at the end for folks to ask questions. Otherwise, again, feel free to use the chat feature. I'm monitoring that. And then again, this is being recorded, so I'll make sure to email that to folks after the webinar. All right, so again, this is who I am. I'm Martin Ricard. I'm the communications specialist for Council 57. I'm the person who does all of the stories about our union, run the blog posts, I run the website, I do our social media pages, do all kinds of video and photos for us, and work on messaging for our campaigns, all that good stuff. And so you might have seen me around. If we haven't met, hopefully we can meet pretty soon. And just to let you know a little bit more about me, I do have, I started off in the media industry as a newspaper reporter. I did that for about 10 years. I went to UC Berkeley, got a master's in journalism there, worked at the Washington Post, worked under a startup under AOL. I transitioned out of journalism and started working in communications for a number of nonprofits, and so a lot of experience working with media and social media and communications. So I've gathered a lot of information over the years. I've lived and breathed this stuff, and I'm here to share this with you now. All right, so here's what you're going to learn in this brief webinar. You're going to learn how to use email to send important updates to your local. You're going to learn how good subject lines are directly related to a well-informed membership. This is key, and this is one of the main reasons why we're doing this. And then I want you to learn the elements of a good email communication. All right, so first, I want you to check this brief clip out, and let's see if this works. All right.
If you want to be important, wonderful. If you want to be recognized, wonderful. If you want to be great, wonderful. But recognize that he who is greatest among you shall be your servant. That's a new definition of greatness. By giving that definition of greatness, it means that everybody can be great. You don't have to know about Plato and Aristotle to serve. You don't have to know the theory of relativity to serve. You don't have to know the second theory of thermodynamics in physics to serve. You only need a heart full of grace. Soul generated by love.
All right. So I'm not sure if anybody has or anybody saw this year's Super Bowl, but that was one of the featured commercials. In the chat, can anybody, in a few words or less, can anybody kind of tell me what's the point I'm trying to make with showing that particular video? Anybody, somebody. Okay, so that's an important observation. Somebody says the problem with images that have nothing to do with the message. I think that's an important point. Anybody else? I'll take one or two more. Feel free to chat or just let me know. All right, going once, going twice. All right. Yeah, I understand. Okay, manipulating the message to suit your purpose. Perfect. Too many images, RAM is for the common person. Okay, great. We're starting to think, which is kind of what this is. So here's my point. And too many images. Okay, here's the point that I'm trying to make with this particular clip. And this is one of the points I'm trying to make about communications and eblast. So the point is, when you're telling a story or you're promoting a message nowadays, you have to appeal to people's emotions. And that's kind of what folks were talking about, right? Manipulating a message. It can be used for good or bad, right? That's why in a lot of advertisements, you do see a lot of imagery. With this particular ad, they used Dr. King's speech, which was controversial, but it's sort of tapping into people's emotions because that's what marketers know. You know, marketers know we're human, so we react to certain emotions. So I want you to keep that in mind as we're talking about eblast and as we're talking about how we can use them effectively to reach our members in the union, not just to, do what advertisers are trying to do every day, which is, get us to buy stuff, but to get us engaged in our union. And, we want folks to have solidarity, right? So let's get into this. What is an eblast? Briefly, what an eblast is, it's basically an email. But what's the difference between an eblast and just a regular email that you might use for work or Gmail or AOL or Yahoo is that an eblast is sent to a large number of people using an email marketing system. Nowadays, there are a number of systems that are free or low cost that your local, if not already, you could be using. Eblasts are continually replacing print newsletters in the labor movement and the nonprofit world. So I know that traditionally, and this isn't to push people away from using print materials, but eblasts are a lot more effective at reaching people and sort of understanding who we're reaching out to with each audience. Eblasts also feel a critical need to communicate with their members on a more consistent basis, and that's why a lot of folks in the labor movement and nonprofit world especially are moving away from using print materials and print newsletters, because if you think about it, even though word of mouth is always the best, and we don't want to push people away from doing one-on-one conversations, but honestly, we're so busy and we're attached to our computers and our phones nowadays. The best way to reach people is right through their inboxes, and that's what eblast will help you do. Now, there's eblast and newsletters, e-newsletters. You might hear those two phrases. They can be used interchangeably, but I'll show you the difference. So an e-newsletter, just as a summary, it's an easier way to keep your members engaged, even if it's sent only a few times a year. E-newsletters, think about it as, for a lot of locals, over the years, you've had a print newsletter that, you might have sent out every month or so. Well, you can do that same thing through an e-newsletter. You can just make it all digital and send it to folks in their inboxes. It's a much more effective way to do things, and it will save you a lot of time. E-newsletters make use of a free or low-cost email marketing system. I just mentioned that. And the systems that I recommend are usually MailChimp or Constant Contact. Constant Contact is more well-known, but I actually prefer MailChimp, and I'll show you why. And then a good e-newsletter will include several good stories, at least one about a member. So, you want to try to do a member profile. That'll usually make an e-newsletter more effective. And then you could also include bargaining updates and upcoming events. I am hearing that some folks may not be able to hear me anymore. Bear with me. I'm hoping that is coming through. All right, so I mentioned that e-newsletters and eblast can be used interchangeably. There's also email updates. So that's sort of something that's slightly different than an e-newsletter. An email update is something that you would typically send in off months when you're not sending out an e-newsletter. Email updates can be used basically if you need to send out something about an urgent action, a meeting, or any other update you need to send to members. One of the things that you'll want to do with the email update is you want to include your local's logo, the AFSCME colors, a good call to action, which I'll go into in a little bit. And you want to try to keep the text under 400 words. So where an e-newsletter, it would sort of be a little bit longer because it's kind of like your print newsletter. An email update doesn't need to be that long, and you just want to get people to take action, essentially. One of the other effective ways to use email updates is you want to personalize the greeting. So you want to say, hey, Martin, or, hey, Cheryl, or, what's going on, Eric, something like that. You won't be able to do that with something like a Gmail or Yahoo or, your personal email system. But that's why email marketing system is helpful, because you can personalize it, and this will essentially allow folks to want to open the email more. That's the whole point of this stuff. Also, you want to make the sender an actual person from the local. So again, with the Gmail or another personal email system, you're not able to do that. So what often happens is, you send out an email to your local and they don't necessarily see where it's coming from, or they don't see that it's coming from somebody that they know. Well, with the email update, you can basically put in your president's name, or somebody that they would recognize. That's another way to make email updates more effective. And then the other thing you don't want to miss is you want to make sure that you include links to your website and social media pages. Whenever you're talking about your local or talking about the union, you don't want to forget to have people connected. Everybody, I shouldn't say everybody, but a lot of people are using social media, and almost everybody is using the internet. So we want to make sure that the union is where they're at. All right, so here's a good example of what an email update would look like. And I'll show you what an e-newsletter will look like too. So this is just an example. So you want to have, like I said, the logo for your local. That's usually at the top. You want to have some type of personalized greeting. You can do this fairly easily through the email marketing system. You want to try to keep the text in the email pretty short. It just depends on what you're doing. But as you can kind of see in this example, it's really not that long. And then you'll notice that there's some links. In an email, this is important because this is called a call to action. And what you want to do, and this is sort of strategic, You don't want to have too many links in the email because let's say, for example, you want people to show up to a meeting or to a rally. You don't want to sort of confuse people with a lot of different information. So you want to try to condense it down to one good call to action, and you might want to just repeat it maybe once or twice, and that's why you see a couple of links here. And then you want to make sure that the sender, like I said before, is an actual person. Again, that helps with sort of helping folks engage with the message. Now, let me show you what an e-newsletter looks like real quick. Hold on. Hopefully this still works. Okay. So this is just an example, and actually this is the template that any local in Council 57 can use. You'll notice there are some similarities with an email update, but this is going to be a lot longer, right? So just briefly, because of time, I'm going to just browse through this, or I'm going to let you browse through this and show you what an e-newsletter can look like. So you see it's structured a lot differently, obviously, from an email update, but it has information that basically makes people want to click on it and read it. And this is how you essentially want to present this. I could give every local in Council 57 this template if your local wants to use this. All right. Hold on one second. Okay, so before I go any further, does anybody have any quick questions? Is any of this making any sense? If this is making any sense, or if this is sort of presenting some new information to you that you think you can use, press a 1. Type 1 into the chat. All right, perfect. Great. Awesome. Okay, so let me keep going. Okay, and somebody's asking, how do you get the template? I have your email address. If you signed up for this webinar, I can send this to you following the webinar. I can send everybody the template. It's not a problem. And you can also just email me. Let me type my email address as well. If you want to reach out to me directly and have me send it to you for your local, you can contact me at martin.ricard@ca.afscme57.org. And then the other question is, does it work with any platform? That's built for MailChimp, but I can help you out if it's with something else. But I'd prefer folks to be on MailChimp. All right. So here's probably the most important thing. I've gone over, the basic understanding of Eblast. You know that you can use an e-newsletter for your local. You could also use an email update in between. But to be honest, like I said, we're so busy every day that we get. I think I heard some statistics that we get about 121 emails every day, something like that, some crazy number. So what would actually force people to open up your email? Again, you may be nice, they may know you, but with all the stuff that we get, all the information that we get, people might just ignore you. And it's not the fault of anybody from your local, it's just the way we are as human beings. So the way that you overcome that is through writing good subject lines. So subject lines, again, that's one of the most important parts of an eblast. This is when you kind of have to put on your marketer hat and kind of get out of just being a union member or just a worker hat. Like I showed you in the Dodge Ram video, you have to make people feel like they want to engage with the message, or else they're missing out. And that's kind of what that Dodge Ram ad was talking about. You want to keep it simple, direct, and concise. So, I mean, there's kind of a golden rule that you want to keep subject lines kind of short. I don't want to say that you want to do that all the time, but just because there's only a certain number of characters, you want to try to, get to the point quickly. And then here's something I do see sometimes. You want to try to avoid all caps and too many exclamation points. I mean, you're sending an email message. You're not talking to people directly, so there's no need necessarily to tell or to show people that you're screaming at them. You just want to have them invite you into their lives and open up that message real quick for that day. So here's some examples of, and this isn't to criticize anybody or anything like that. These are just some examples that I've seen over the years and some improvements that could be made. Because again, what we're trying to do is we're trying to build our union here, and we want to make people feel the solidarity. So here's the wrong way to do it. Here's just a couple examples. If you put in your subject line, we have to act now or else, in all caps, the likelihood of people opening that email is going to be pretty low. Another way to do it is to basically make it, like I said, more specific and direct. So as an example, you could put in the subject line, tell Board of Supervisors, don't take away our pensions, or hands off our pensions, or whatever the issue is. Just try to make it more like a marketing message, if you will. Another way that I've seen that that some folks do it is to just put in the subject line what the actual thing is. So if it's local whatever July 2017 newsletter, that doesn't really tell people anything. You want to tell people what they're opening, and that you want to let people know that it's about the union. So you can say something like, get involved in your union with these upcoming events, or something like that. And again, I can work with folks if you need some ideas on how to spruce up those subject lines. All right, so we're getting towards the end of this webinar. I wanted to leave some time for other questions, but just know that here's some key takeaways. And again, I hope that we can have more webinars in the future. But for Eblast, understand that Eblast should become your local's most used communications tool. It's low cost, and you'll get better results with less effort. I want to stress that because I know folks are busy. But if you understand how to do Eblast, it's going to save you so much time trying to track people down, trying to go to the printer, and all kinds of stuff that will keep you up at night. I'm trying to give you some hours back to sleep, hopefully. The second thing is go ahead, if you haven't already, for your local, sign up for an email marketing system. Again, it's going to save you time in the long run. I recommend, again, MailChimp, and the reason why is because of its ease of use, and most importantly, it's free up to, I think, about 2,000 subscribers, which would fit for most of our locals in terms of the email addresses we have. So it's kind of a win-win situation. Plus, I already have templates set up, so that kind of takes care of that part. So I understand if folks want to use print newsletters, that's fine. But if possible, just understand that with AFSCME as a whole, and with the labor movement and nonprofit world, which that's what we're a part of, folks, we're replacing print materials with a lot of email communication. So if you can, replace that print newsletter with e-newsletter. It's going to help you out. Also keep in mind to send shorter e-blasts to your local when there is an urgent action, meeting, or update that you need to send to members. One of the main complaints that I always get as a communications specialist is that folks, one of the complaints is that folks say they don't hear from the union that much. Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I'm getting some questions. I'll get to those in a moment. So yeah, folks say sometimes that they don't hear from the union that much, and that's why they don't feel like they need to be a part of the union or something like that. we don't want anybody to say that. So, eblast can make sure that we're communicating on a consistent basis, and we show folks that we care and that we're involved in their lives. And then, as I said in the last slide, try to put some thought into your subject lines, because again, that's going to be the first thing that folks see. All right, so I am opening up to questions. We have about a minute or so. And let me see if I can get to all these questions here. And again, if you have other questions, feel free to just type them into the chat box. I'm looking at that now. Oh, okay. So there's a question asking how many of the email marketing systems are free. To my knowledge, MailChimp is actually the main one. I don't want to say that it's the only one, but it is the main one. I know some folks might be more familiar with Constant Contact, and usually with Constant Contact there is a fee. It's usually a small fee though, but there is a fee. And then there's other systems out there as well. I may not be as familiar with them, but they're all pretty much the same. Another question was, again, is the email marketing system free? What costs and how much? I think I just went over that. Oh, and then I'm sorry. The question was, how many recipients are free? Let's see. Are you talking about? I'm not necessarily clear on that question. If you're talking about like how many subscribers to the email marketing system, for example, for like MailChimp, it's up to 2,000. It's free. So that's why I recommend MailChimp. So if your local has 2,000 members or less, or 2,000 emails or less, then MailChimp is going to be a great solution. And again, there may be some costs as well, but just think about how much time it would save you, if you have more than 2,000 subscribers. So hopefully that answered that question. All right. I'll hang on for just another moment. If anybody else has any questions, feel free to ask. Okay. All right. Oh, okay. Yes. So another question is, will there be any additional areas covered? And I'm guessing that's for eBlast or for other communications topics. Okay. Yes. I wanted to start off with eBlast because, I understand that eBlasts are probably it's probably one of the tools that every local could use and pick up and just run with that. There's other topics that I do want to cover, and I have a range of those, and I'll be letting you all know about those. And depending on how effective this was, hopefully we'll be able to do this pretty frequently, so that more people can know about this information. Another question was, how do you get all of your members' emails? Feel free to contact me about that. Again, my email is martin.ricard@ca.afscme57.org, and we can set that up for you for your local. All right. Another question is there a toolbox where you can go to gather some of this information? And the answer is it is yes. So there's a couple of toolboxes, I should say. I have sort of a toolbox just for Council 57 that includes like bulletin board flyers and a number of the trainings that I do, and I can open that up to all the members, and we could actually post that on our Council 57 website. And then the other tool box, if you will, that I've been trying to promote is the AFSCME International. It's called the AFSCME Toolkit, and so again, it's another tool that will save you time. So, for example, it allows you as a local to create your own meeting flyers that look professionally designed. It has a number of tools, and if you want to get a hold of that tool, feel free to just contact me by email, and I can have you all get that information. Awesome. Yeah, I know bulletin boards. We're trying to focus more on that every month and try to have some information for you. So feel free to reach out to me. We definitely have a lot of those materials, and again, I have a lot of stuff that I can share with you all as well. All right. Any other questions? All right. Going once, going twice. Okay. Is there a way to test the template? Yes, but it would sort of take a little bit of time right now, and I wanted to keep it to about 30 minutes today. I'll keep the time in mind for the following webinars. If we need to make it more than 30 minutes, I will. But I just wanted to respect people's time, and if you want me to make it a little bit longer next time, I'm glad to do that. All right. Awesome. Okay, so I want to just thank you all again for joining me on this webinar. We're trying to do something a little new, but we're trying to just get to as many members as possible. And this is one of the 4 or 5 pillars that Michael is always talking about: communications. So I want to make sure that everybody is aware of how to use this for your local. All right, so thank you very much. Enjoy the rest of your day. Enjoy a Memorial Day weekend. I'm hoping folks have at least a day off, and we will talk to you soon. All right, take care.